Kavod Rabbanim, my Chavedim that I was in the class with for the last, Baruch Hashem, 18 months plus. Now Baruch Hashem starting a whole nother one. And the ganze Kahol. I want to start with a vart from my father, my Tayra Tate. He would repeat many times with a shaila. When the Chazan in Chazaras HaShatz starts the brachas, he starts saying all the brachas, and the Kahal answers Amen. Going through all the brachas, besides for when it comes to Maidim. When it comes to Maidim, he would ask, we don't just say Amen, but we have to say a whole keta, Maidim anachnu lach. What's different? Why all of a sudden is Amen not good enough? And he would repeat an alta vart that when it comes to say Haidah, when it comes to say thanks, when it comes to say Toida, Amen is not enough. You have to go beprati pratius and go through all the pratim that you're saying Toida for. So I first want to start with saying a grace yashakayach to my teacher, Rabbi Kasimov, for the gewaldige shiurim, one of a kind. So much so that when we finished our first maslul, I wasn't sure if I'm going to start the next one, but I jumped in. So a grace yashakayach to all Rabbanim, all the teachers, b'shem kol hatalmidim. We mentioned before, Rabbi Brian, the Rabbi just said, it's not an easy task for the wives, for the Eishes Chayil. I know by me in Las Vegas, our shir was from 5 to 7. The kids are coming home from school. The ones, the Talmidim over here in New York, it's 8 to 10. Other people, it's 4 to 7, 4 to 5. Everyone had their 2 hours, and when I was once speaking, everyone thought that their 2 hours were the hardest. And it was probably true. It was probably true. Everybody had a hard time. The kids are coming home, the kids are going to sleep, the kids are waking up, wherever it is. But the wives, my vibe, my Eishes Chayil, and everyone deserves a big Ashakoyach. I know they mentioned before, the Rebbe mentions in Ayayim Yoim, in Chaf Hey Menachem Av, why when a girl is born do we say, Yigadlu L'Toira? And the Rebbe says, from the Gemara Brachis, the Gemara asks, where are the ladies going to be Zakoyin in Olam Haba? Where do they get their schus? And the Gemara answers by bringing the kinderlach to school and for letting their husbands going to school, going to shiurim, and coming and waiting for them. And I saw Rashi over there says, "V'noisnin lehem reshus l'leches." They push it, give permission. I know, I asked permission. 5 to 7 is not an easy hour. I'm sure for Mani Machavedim, it's not easy, or for the Rabbanim, or the Magid Shurim. But nice to lehem reshus, the Gemara Rashi says. And then I want to mention a Yashakoyach to the Shagi. A lot of you probably don't even know who Shagi is over here. Standing up on the right. I know, if I remember 4 years ago, by the first Siyum, he wasn't even in the picture, and my father had to schlep him to sit down. So, Shagi, make sure you're in the picture this year. But Gracie Yashakayach, together with my father, a little bit over 4 years ago, I remember when my father mentioned to us about the starting of it. If you knew my father, giving shiurim was no problem. You just had to tell him a time and place, and it was the most geschmacka thing, the biggest tainug. And he asked us to remember that It was already evening hours. He wasn't the biggest Zoom guy. We would help him out. And when he would come, even he came to Las Vegas, Shagi has the picture, he was all nervous about making sure that the Zoom and the computer is going to work in Las Vegas giving the shiur, the first year, and I had a geschmack to sit by that chair. Remember the Yedideh shiur? But wherever he went, my mother had to wait before or after, because those 2 hours in Las Vegas, it was 3 hours before the regular time over here, but the shiur went on. So Gracie Yasher Koyach to the Chag together with my Taya Tata. I wanted to say a few personal stories. I think I mentioned this to Rabbi Kasimov. This past Kinus HaShluchim, I was flying into New York for the Kinus, and I had my 2 boys flying with me for the Tziyirei HaShluchim, and it was right after we had a test. We had a test, and then we had a test b'chsav. So on the plane, I had my Yedideh, I had papers, I had pen, and I wanted to finish off the test. So I was sitting, it was a day flight, Baruch Hashem, and I was sitting and writing the test. My little Meishele, after he sees me for an hour finishing the test, he says, Tati, do you need to finish the test in order to go get into the Kinus HaShluchim? And I thought about it. You know, a lot of times we write the whole duch, how many tefillins we put on, how many nesheks we gave out. But our little boys, our mishpacha want to know, in order to get into the Kinus, we also need to know how much limud HaTorah we did. And it was like a bank. And he was with sincerity. This past summer, after we completed 18 months of Hilchos Nida, I didn't sign up yet for the new shiur. I was on the fence, as we say. You know, and I understand it's not an easy thing. 2 hours, week in, week out, with your chazara. Regardless, you know, kayetz, chaydef, you have your 2 hours. It's geschmack. It's an ari miklat. But, you know, you have to jump in. You have to make the commitment. So it was the first week that my kids were back from camp, and we were in by the Kiddush in shul by us, and I was talking towards the end of the Kiddush about which classes, which adult education we're going to be giving this year. And I said, this night is this class, etc., etc. My boy again turns to me and says, Ta, are you doing your Tuesday night class again? Because he was like telling me that Tuesday night is blocked off. But Baruch Hashem, when I heard that, I think it was Sunday morning, I signed up for the next year. We were speaking before about how my father's biggest tainug was shiur Torah, limud HaTorah. 4 years ago, I think we were probably not even in this side of the Zal, this side of the Ulam. And that morning, it was already after the Pesura. And he wasn't doing so well. His feet were hurting him. And I happened to be in New York that day for the first Siyum. So I was driving him around and I had to take him to a doctor. Literally from the morning and the whole time, my mother was asking, maybe he's not going to be able to make it tonight. Shragi wasn't sure what's going to happen. It was a hard day. But if I could tell you, the 2-3 hours over here he ended up making it was smile from side to side. There was no more tainug of him being here at the first siyum from Tchilas Vatzeifa. So So I wanted to finish with another vart that my father would say many times by us in the house. I remember hearing a recording recently in the beginning of the Shnas HaLimudim of when my father was by one of the Chinuch conferences. He said a story. Years ago, I have a great uncle that he went to one of his children's chasanas, a Torah V'das Yid, out of Crown Heights. And he goes to the chasana by the chuppah. They were calling up with an interessante kibud, or interessante kinoi. They called up a Pliny, a certain person, a Bianco, and they said he's a third grade teacher for 15 years who, according to the calculations, taught Parshas Vayera to over 300 Talmidim. And my father would repeat the story how in Lubavitch, a lot of times we call up shliach to this place and a shliach to that place, mechabed to the bracha. We also need to be mechabed the Rabbanim, the Leimdei Torah, the teachers, Akita Beis, Akita Gimel, or anyone who's learning. We have to make a tararam from it. It was a big deal. So last night, before I took off, I texted Chag. I wanted to know how many Talmidim and how many hours in this past year were learnt. And when I landed, I didn't text this to Shagi. I was speaking to my brother, and I was like, blown away. If you calculate the different courses, shiurim, that went through this past year, how many simanim were learnt, together with all the 14 courses, it comes out to over 7,500 simanim that were learned together with all the Messiahim today. 7,500 simanim. And then I calculated the hours. Some of our shiurim are 2 hours a week, about, let's say, 45 weeks a year. Take off a few weeks of Chagim. It came out to over 35,000 hours of limud halachas, limud Torah. So I want to take in perspective how many hours are in a year. In 1 year, 24 hours times 353, 54 days a year comes out to 8,400 and something hours. It comes out that we learned more than 4 years of limud Torah, limud halachas. 4 years. A few weeks ago, in our class, I'm not sure if I have a few chaverim here in the class, I saw interessante Zach. We have a chaver in our Dayanis class now, who is all the way from Hong Kong, China. And if you saw, I don't know, Rabbi Kasim, if you realize you were probably giving the shir, he was in the middle of taking off his talis and tefillin in the beginning of the class. After I was thinking about it, we had somebody that was finishing Shachris in Hong Kong. In New York, it was already after Ma'ariv. I daven mincha between the break, all in one class. Shachris, mincha, and Ma'ariv. You realized? Shachris, mincha, and Ma'ariv. And I thought of a gedank, there's an old saying. There's an old saying that the sun never rested on the British kingdom, the British Empire. We could say that Limud HaTorah never rested by this mochain, this class, these shiurim. All 24 hours for over 4 years of hours were learned during Shachris, Mincha, and Ma'ariv. just to be Messiah, I was trying to find a story or if there was ever a siyum done l'maylo. If there was ever a siyum l'maylo, we're making a siyum over here, Baal Medain. If there was ever a siyum l'maylo, and I didn't have too much time, and it was bothering me. Actually, last night I was thinking about it. This morning when I was landing at 6:30 a.m., a gedank landed. I think Rabbi, the Rav just mentioned, today is Simchas Torah. On Simchas Torah by day, we say a tefillah, we say a keta. Moshe al amorim, Moshe al amorim, Moshe al amorim. The next keta, we see Avraham samach b'simchas Torah. Yitzchak samach b'simchas Torah. Yaakov samach b'simchas Torah. And then it goes, Moshe, Aaron, David. So I thought, Efshe Kemen Zagin, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were in the past already when Torah was given to us. Yes, the Kiyam Kol Torah Kula. Samach. So Efshe, we could say that when Moshe was samach b'simchas Torah down here, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov was samach b'simchas Torah l'mayla. When every Yid, every Einikel, every Bnei Yisrael that is samach b'simchas Torah l'mayla, Avraham samach b'simchas Torah. Kemen Zagin, that right now there's a big siyum happening l'mayla. With my father, with Al Chassidim, with all those that are not here, and they are samach with us in unser Simchas Torah.